Hello guys, Stay Patient here, and welcome to this week's edition of the Trophy Hunters PSN update. Now I apologise if some frustration on my part comes across in this video. I've had an absolute nightmare today trying to get this working. For some reason my usual settings just wouldn't function. I was setting everything up like I usually do and I was having major problems with the Elgato capture device and the software and everything. But finally we've got it going. And we're ready to dive into this week's edition. Now, obviously we're here on psnprofiles.com. I have had a chance to take a look at some of these games. It's becoming more and more noticeable that games tend to have their trophies announced earlier these days for some reason, because years ago you jump on here and all of the games that were up would have lots of people playing them. You know, they wouldn't add the trophies until the last minute. And you know, that resulted in us being able to get quite a lot of feedback. Pardon me. But nowadays it seems like they put the trophy lists up really early. And one of the examples of this, I think, is probably going to be Red Dead Revolver. Now you'll notice here on the most recent, most recent releases, but the most recent games to have been added. There's Red Dead Revolver here. Now this is an odd one because obviously it's a re-release, like an HD re-release of the PS2 game, which was in fact the kind of prequel to Red Dead Redemption. So some of you might be super excited to play this. I'm not sure how good it is. I've never played it myself. It doesn't have a platinum, but I've seen some other people on YouTube talking about it, and they've mentioned that they really love it as much as Redemption. But obviously it depends on how well it ages, because it would have been a long time ago that they played it. Pardon me, guys. I'm a bit croaky today. But yeah, it was actually released on the Australian store, apparently so, and then taken off. Sometimes Sony mess things up like that. Obviously someone working at Sony just clicks a button, it gets put on the store, and then they quickly rush to take it off because it's not actually supposed to be for sale yet. So it's obviously ready to go, because there was a whole list of features on the store, a list like an explanation or description for the game. So it can't be far off, but you know, we're gonna have to wait for that one. Not gonna look too much into it because it doesn't have a platinum, but it's quite interesting. I just wanted to mention it because it is one of those games that I think a lot of people will be more interested in playing now than they were when it first released, because obviously Red Dead Redemption really brought the kind of franchise to the fore, made a lot of people aware of it, and everyone loves it. It's a great game. I'm hoping for a sequel to that more than a re-release of the prequel, to be honest, but you know, we'll see where we get with that. I'm sure Rockstar are working on another Red Dead game, hopefully. So we're going to make our way up. This game, Dead Synchronicity, that I mentioned last week, that I knew nothing about. I kind of guessed maybe it's going to be an indie game with an easy plat, but that was just off the top of my head. No one's played it yet, so this is another example of a game that's released, or you know, the trophies are announced and put up on PSN profiles way too early, in my opinion. Because by the time the game actually releases, obviously it's going to be off the bottom. So people looking at the most recent games like we are today, you know, they won't get to see it. I mean, they'll know it's there, but they won't get to see any feedback on how the trophies are going, unless they remember to go back and check it later, obviously. And there is one game that I did remember to go back and check, and I'm going to talk a bit about it. You may have seen along the top, we've got the tabs open there. Yes, Oceanhorn. So this is Oceanhorn, Monster of the Uncharted Sea. That was there last week. And it's kind of, in fact, it was there 2 weeks ago, but it's kind of dropped off the bottom of the most recent releases list now. Obviously, you can still find it through searching, and it's got quite a high percentage of people having platted it. Now, 175, what's that? 350, 700, 875. I think they've either calculated that wrong, or a lot of new people played it, and they haven't included those new people in the calculation yet. But anyway, this one obviously is quite a high percentage. We did look at the platinum times last week, I believe, and we saw that a lot of people have done it in around about a day or a couple of days. Now, I went on and checked PlayStationTrophies.org, which has now got, thanks to, who was it? Yes, thanks to Castlevania. I guess that's a play on the name Cassie. Maybe that's a girl doing the guide, I don't know. They seem relatively new to the site, only 184 posts. But they've put together a guide and they've estimated it at 2 out of 10 difficulty and 12 to 15 hours. So if we go to, they're actually linked here, the voting threads for difficulty and completion time. Yeah, I've got them open here. So we've got the difficulty thread. Obviously, this isn't a game that loads of people are playing, so there's not going to be loads of people voting on it yet, but in time, we'll get more feedback. But we've got 1 out of 10, sorry, 1 vote for 2 out of 10, 1 for 3 out of 10, and then on the estimated time, people are saying between 10 and 20 hours, but if we read some of the comments here, it took Cassie, who was doing the guide, or maybe it's a guy whose girlfriend is called Cassie, who knows, I don't know. But props to her, she's, you know, she is a girl and she's doing guides for the site, that's pretty cool. But she says it took her about 17 hours, and it's a nice relaxing game if you enjoy Zelda, that kind of game. I watched some gameplay of it. I'm not going to show it on the video. You can jump on YouTube and check out some gameplay. But it certainly does look a lot like a kind of Zelda-esque game. Down here we've got 11 to 15 hours. My total time was just under 11 hours, very short plat, even without a guide or assistant. So I don't know if that means he didn't use a guide, Bronkian. All the people playing this seem to be quite new to the site. Anyway, I'm sure we'll get some of the more regular site, you know, PST users voting on this eventually. Maybe off the back of this video. I know there's some of you guys watching this are members of this site. Game itself tells you what you still need to do. So it sounds like it's got good tracking. I haven't looked through the whole trophy guide yet, but it sounds as if it's one of those user-friendly interfaces that kind of tracks everything for you, gives you good feedback on what you need to work on, and I think there are going to be guides that you can follow. Sorry guys, I thought I heard the phone then, that was very odd. I've been asked to answer the phone if it goes, so I need to listen out for it, but I must be hearing things, I don't know. Anyway, I think that's enough said on Oceanhorn. It does look good, but oh, where are we? Yeah, let's go back to the games. So yeah, another easy platinum, not super short. It's not like what was it, Orc Slayer and all those games that I've been talking about recently. It's not as quick as those, but it does look more fun, and I think I'm going to pick it up. It's currently, I think 11. Let's have a look. It's $14.99 in the US, and it's £11.99 in the UK. So thankfully they have sort of compensated for the difference in currency conversion, or whatever you want to call it. And they have made it cheaper for us in the UK, which is fair, I think. So there you go. Nice, cheap, well, relatively cheap game. It looks fun, takes around 10 to 20 hours, depending on how much you take in, how slow you are, you know, how much sightseeing you do or whatever. Yeah, good one to go for, I think. Anyway, we're going to jump back. That's not actually on this list here. We're going to have a look through some of these more recent games. I'm not going to look at everything here because I have scanned through and it looks like the majority of games either have absolutely 0 to go on or they're quite difficult. But there are 1 or 2 games I do want to focus on. Obviously, we discussed Bioshock and Dead Rising last week. It'd be interesting actually to see which Bioshock game has got the highest completion, because obviously they've all got DLC. So Bioshock has got less DLC, it's only got 54 trophies and less trophy points, and that's because they took out the online, and that meant some of the main game trophies were gone. I think they had to up the value of some of the others. I don't think they added any. And one of the DLC packs, or maybe 2 of them, have completely gone because they were online related. But we've got, it's odd actually, because understandably the highest number of people played the first Bioshock. Now I'm actually playing Bioshock Infinite at the moment because I wanted to do some trophy guides for it, and if you check my channel you'll see a bunch of trophy guides for like the combat related trophies and things like that. So that's why I'm playing Infinite first, because it's one of my favorite games of all time, and you know, I wanted to get on those trophy guides nice and quickly. Obviously, there's a lot of guides from the PS3 era when the game was out on last gen, but a lot of them have got like no commentary or anything, and they're quite impersonal. You know, there's not a lot to go on. You just watch what they do and kind of copy it, and it's like, it's a bit boring to watch. So I thought I'd do some guides based on some of the sort of farming methods and things like that that I used in the original version of the game. So I brought that over to the PS4. But it looks like there's more people playing Infinite than Bioshock 2. So there's obviously a lot of love for the first game and Infinite, which were both developed by the same team. Obviously, Bioshock 2 is a separate team. I forget the names of the companies that did them. Irrational, I think, was Bioshock 1 and Infinite. And of course, that was Tim... is it? No, Tim. Ken Levine. That's it. I don't know where Tim came from. Ken, yeah, absolutely genius when it comes to game design. So there was a couple more really interesting games I wanted to point out. Oh, and there was one actually, before we do those, I can't remember if we went back and covered Funk of Titans. Now, this is one that showed up a few weeks ago, and we looked at it, but didn't really have any feedback, and I can't remember if I managed to get back and cover it again one of the following weeks. It might have dropped off the bottom of the list and I may have forgotten about it. But since then, I have kind of come back and checked it out just for myself, really, because I've bought a copy of this. And I've not played it yet, but it's got a crazy high completion percentage. And we're not going to look at the trophy guide now, but, if you look at it, it's got basically people saying it's very easy. I think some people struggle with little bits of it, but not anything really too challenging. And I believe it's... we will have a quick look, actually, because I'm forgetting the completion time for it. Oh, typical, isn't it? Let's just go Funk. So, Funk of Titans, Trophy Guide, Man United fan, you can always trust him to make decent guides. 2.5 out of 10, so it's not like ultra easy. It's not, literally a case of pressing the correct buttons at the right time. You do have to actually play the game. That's what 2 out of 10 means in my head. But 5 to 10 hours, so potentially, super fast. No one's actually voted on it, but, I trust the Man United fan. He's pretty good with this stuff, so... There you go. Just in case, now, I apologise if we did cover this last week or the week before. Sometimes I forget. But Funk of Titans is definitely a platinum to grab if you're a trophy hunter and you like your nice, easy, quick games. And obviously, we've already covered Oceanhorn. Now, where were these other games that I was going to talk about? Obviously, there's Mafia 3. Now, Mafia 3 is due out... on a day that I'm unaware of. The one thing I forgot to check. I apologise for my terrible typing, guys. I'm kind of trying to not speak directly into the mic when I move my head, so I'm not really looking at the keyboard properly. Because it would just deafen you all. October 7th. So, wow, that's like... Okay, so this backs up our theory that games are getting their trophies announced much earlier these days, because we've got 3 weeks to go, and this has been on PSN profiles for nearly a week. It came on pretty soon after last week's episode, because I remember thinking, oh, great, we've got a AAA title to cover. So we've got 3 weeks to go for that, but there is quite a lot that you can suss out based on the trophy list. Now, I've looked through, and we're not going to look at each one, but almost half the list looks like mission-related trophies. So they're either related to story missions or side quests, and they seem to indicate like a certain choice at the end of a mission or during a mission or whatever. So some of them will be kind of, well, I say a certain choice. They might just be things that happen naturally as you play through the game, but it might be that you need to play missions a certain way, who knows. Anyway, if we keep moving down here, we've got a bunch of missions that relate to associates and what are they called? Rackets, underbosses. Now, some of these are sort of money related, side quest related. But yeah, so these underbosses, it looks like they're going to require 2 playthroughs because we've got 1 trophy here for keeping all underbosses alive until whatever this mission is. And then we've got, I hope I'm not blocking, by the way, with the webcam. Scroll down a bit. Yeah, so keep all underbosses alive up to this point, and then you've got to keep only 1 underboss alive. Now, it could be that you could get to just before this mission, maybe, depending on how the save system works, you might be able to then complete the mission with all the underbosses, and then go back and, go back to your save file, and maybe kill your own underbosses. I really don't know. No one really knows how this game works yet. But some games work in that way where you can kind of make a save and complete 2 trophies by going back and just doing things a different way. And if it lets you kill your own underbosses, then maybe that's possible. But there's another one here, look. Reach the royal state with 1 underboss. Sorry, loyal state. Oh, I see. When I first read this, I thought it was like reach a certain point in the game, but obviously it means reaching loyal state. So kind of increasing your relationship or your well, the level of their, what's the word? Level of how loyal they are. Level of their loyalty. I can't think of the word. You can tell I've had a bit of a funny day, guys. Crumbs. Right. So yeah, it could be that you need to do a couple of playthroughs. There's loads here to do with rackets and stuff. Obviously, you'll find out what all this means when we get the game. But it looks like there's a lot of kind of management, not just missions, but you're maybe building up your own kind of crew or something, and building relationships with informants and underbosses that work under you, I guess. So it looks quite interesting, and it doesn't look too tough. There's no trophy, as far as I can tell. These are all like combat-related trophies, I think, or sort of miscellaneous chapter ones. But there doesn't seem to be anything difficulty-related. So maybe the game doesn't have a difficulty, or a difficulty setting that you can change. And maybe you can change it and put it on the lowest setting, but I don't think you need to play it through on any ultra high difficulty or anything like that. It seems like everything can be earned on whatever difficulty you like. Anyway, obviously we'll find out more about that game when it releases in 3 weeks, which is crazy. But it looks kind of cool. I haven't really looked too much into it. It's one of those games that's kind of been lost amongst all the hype for other games. Mafia 2 was really good, and I think people remember it better than... Not better than it was, but when you look back and think about Mafia 2, I remember it being better than I thought it was at the time, if that makes sense. And I think that's because I had kind of... My expectations for it were a little bit... skewed. I was expecting it to be something different, but the story is really cool, so this could be cool, although it does look quite different to the previous games. It looks a bit more tongue-in-cheek, the action's a bit more over the top or whatever, but it could be a sleeper hit. Now the final game I want to cover is The Bunker. Now if you haven't heard of this, I suggest checking it out. Go and check out some YouTube videos, trailers, gameplay trailers, all that kind of stuff, because it looks really interesting. So it's a live action horror game. So everything is real. Everything's sort of real people, real settings, and they've basically recorded every possible eventuality. And it's kind of a point and click game, basically. So it's along the lines of the Telltale games, or sort of like Heavy Rain and those Quantic Dream games a little bit. But you'll kind of, I don't know if you move your character. I don't think you're going to move your character, because obviously that would be really, really difficult to program a game where you could move live action forward, unless maybe it's kind of like a play button. Maybe you can walk only forwards and you don't choose when to turn, you just hold forward on the analog stick and the character goes through his movement animation or something. I don't know, but I think it's going to be all based on just making choices. So you're going to be picking things up, and you're going to be sort of choosing things from menus, and depending on what you choose, that will determine what clip plays next, if that makes sense. So it can only really be understood by watching it. It looks really, really interesting. And if you look through the trophies, it's only got, I'm not going to count them, I'm going to go back and check here. It's got 29 trophies. And if you look through them, you've got completing chapters all the way up to chapter 12, and then the rest looks as though it's just choices or collectibles. So you've got choose to stay, choose to leave. They're both gold, and that kind of makes me think that that's probably the ending. So you can probably kind of finish the game, and then based on what you found out, you either choose to leave the bunker or stay. It sounds as if you're sort of the surviving, the only surviving member of this bunker that was created to protect people from whatever. I can't remember exactly. I didn't really want to look too much into it because the story looks interesting, so I don't want any spoilers. I think it may be out on Steam already. I think it may have even been out for a few months, but I'd literally never heard of it, so I was really interested. All of these look to be collectible related, so maybe each chapter has a collectible. There's, what is it, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Find all the toys, read all the books, find the missing puzzle piece, listen to all cassettes, all computers, all documents. So there seems to be kind of a collection of collectible-based trophies, which I'm sure, you know, I don't think it's going to be majorly difficult to do them even without a guide, because I can't imagine it having like a massive sprawling game world, because I don't know, it'd just be very difficult to program live action in a game like that, wouldn't it? They'd want to keep it quite close and enclosed, sort of small, so that it's not overly obvious when, you know, I mean, if you had an open world or something, or like huge rooms and huge corridors and big areas, then if you wanted to go to the other end, if you wanted to go through a door right down the other end of the corridor, you'd have to click on it and then just watch a video for however long. So I can't see the areas being particularly large. So I'm guessing, you know, it might be quite linear, and the collectibles, I'm sure, would be fairly simple, unless they're hidden behind objects or whatever. But either way, I do recommend checking this out, and I do totally expect this to be a 1 out of 10 difficulty platinum, simply based on the fact that a lot of it is related to just completing the game, a bit like the Telltale games, and the rest of it seems to be collectible related. And obviously, even if you struggle with them, once a guide comes out, with this kind of game where you're literally just clicking on things, there's no kind of platforming or anything like that, it's going to be easy. You know, once you've got a guide, you can just walk through the whole game, collect all the items, and maybe make a save or upload your save and choose the 2 different endings one at a time. So there you have it, guys. We've got a couple of easy platinums. Obviously, Funk of Titans, which I think we may have spoken about before, but that's definitely worth checking out. We've got Ocean Horn, which is a bit longer, 10 to 20 hours, but looks very easy and actually quite fun. We've got Mafia 3, which doesn't look like it's going to be too bad, along the lines of the previous Mafia, probably. You know, there's obviously going to be some open world stuff. I think it's an open world game, another game that I've kind of held back from looking into too much because I'd like to just play it blind, really. And then the Bunker, which we've just discussed. The other game that I think it was Ghosty pointed out last week, he's one of our regular viewers, and I'm not going to keep you guys for too much longer because I know you enjoy this series, but I don't want to end up boring you. But Ghosty mentioned NBA 2K17, which I did kind of I don't know, breeze over last week. I did mention it very briefly in passing, but it's got a very high completion percentage, and Ghosty mentioned that it's super easy. Now, there's no platinum, and I don't often focus on the games that don't have a platinum because you don't really get very many trophy points from them. But apparently it's super, super easy and quick, a few hours long, and so, you know, if you're interested in NBA, in basketball, whatever, or if you like getting these 100% trophy lists that you can just add to your account, it looks quite good. You know, when you scroll through your account, it still counts as another 100% completed game, so that's pretty cool. So yeah, maybe check that one out. But Apart from that, guys, there's not really anything else of note, but we've looked at a couple of easy games, we've looked at a couple of very interesting looking games, and we've got Mafia to look forward to in a few weeks. Although there are some AAA games coming out before Mafia. I think, was it crumbs? XCOM. XCOM is out in the next couple of weeks. I think maybe next week, actually. So that's going to be something to look forward to. And I'm looking forward to seeing the trophies, although they're probably exactly the same as the achievements on PC. Anyway, I'm going to go, guys, because I've been rambling on now for however long it's been. Thank you ever so much for watching. I do want to thank you guys that have been giving me such sort of positive feedback on this series. I know some of you have said that you've subscribed to me based off of this series alone, which is really cool. And although there's not really a lot of people watching it yet, hopefully it will grow. And in the meantime, I'm going to keep it going because I know some of you really do enjoy it. So thank you very much for that, guys. Thanks for watching once again. And I will catch you all in the week or for next week's episode. Ciao for now.